Hey boys and girls, we're back again. Happy New Year to every one of you. This time in the shop we're going to do custom LED desk signs. You can do one that says your name on it, say Dr. Jimmy. Dr. Jimmy. This one we did, it's a Christmas one we did for the holidays. You can make them any size you want, any color you want, multiple colors, on remotes, all different kinds. This one's green. We'll plug it in and show you what it looks like.
Right in the back here.
That's the green one, and all this stuff we'll put down in the description, and you can do this for pretty cheap. We'll put a total down there as well to everything. And this is the purple one. Thought that one's pretty cool. You can also do the RGB lights on a remote, so you can change the color anytime you want. Once you do one base, as long as you make the signs the same, you can interchange your signs because they come right up out of there. So you can change them anytime you want. It takes a couple tools most people should have in the shop. If not, who needs an excuse to go get more tools? I like getting new tools. But they're all pretty cheap to do. Some of the tools we use because we have, but we'll also tell you the ones you can use to make the job easier for you if you don't have what we have. But we'll get started. We'll give you the measurements and tell you the supplies we need for this job, and we'll get started.
So first we're going to go over some of the supplies you're going to need. We'll kind of leave out the tools until we're actually doing it. That way we can kind of tell you guys what tools we're using and what other ones you can use if you don't happen to have those tools. So right here is basically the supplies. Some of them you might have laying around your house, so we'll get started here. Over in this corner we have just a basic power plug. You can find this off of quite a few electronics.
Yeah, that's off an old telephone.
Yeah, what is this, 9 volt? 9 to 12?
That one's a 12 volt.
Yep, 9 to 12 volt will run the LED lights we're going to use, so you might be able to find this around and, save yourself a few extra dollars. Start here. This is a Wi-Fi controller. So this is for the LED lights here. This is an option you can do. We don't have them installed in any of these ones currently, but this way, once you have the light set up on your desk or something, you can control turning it on and off, colors, things like that with your cell phone. So that's definitely an option you can go.
Another option is just the regular RF remote. That way you can just turn it on and off, adjust your brightness, whatever you want to do with just that. That's for this particular one's for just a single color. That one will work with RGB, so the color spectrum. They also have these with the remote for RGB if you're interested in that.
Alright, we have the two plugs here. We have male end and female end. Usually when we install it into the base, you'll have the female end, so the plug can actually plug right inside of it, so you'll be good. Also depends too on your LED lights, the end of them, because you also have the male end too, so gotta make sure all that lines up. All this stuff is really cheap on Amazon. You can get quite a few of them, and you can use them for other projects too with the LED lights.
You can see on the sign here the plug that gets recessed into the back. Then you just
so this would just slide right in there. Oh, I got a little juice
too.
Got a
little residual juice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, use caution when using your power plugs. They hold juice.
Yep. We got the polyurethane. This is kind of a finished product after you put the stain on there. Yep, stain right here, polyurethane. This one we have right here stained. This one is 2. The one we're making, we're kind of decide if we want to paint it, or we had another idea of actually hydro dipping it, because we have a whole bunch of hydro dipping supplies. We have other videos you guys should check out if you haven't seen them yet. So we might try to hydro dip it. Might come out really cool.
Yeah, so look for the link for that.
Yep. Next here we have just a vinyl decal we made. This helps us with actually making the sign itself here, which we'll elaborate more on in a second here when I actually get to the glass. Okay, we have the lights right here. So you can get these pretty cheap on, was it eBay? What do you recommend?
Amazon, they're cheap. We got, in the description, we'll put links to all this stuff.
Yep, so these lights come pretty long. This is 15 feet, correct?
16 feet,
16 feet? Yeah, so when you're making these lights, you only need such a small amount. You could make several signs with lights here, and this will only cost you a few bucks.
Or other projects, you can put lights in your cupboard or underneath the sink or on your boat or whatever you got.
The bed of your truck. That's
yeah, the bed of your truck. We've done that. That's pretty nice.
There's different kinds of lights too. These ones are the waterproof ones. So in case you are doing other projects that you may run into water or something, you might want to spend a few extra dollars and actually get the waterproof lights, because they'll definitely be better for any kind of jobs you have.
Plus it protects the light too, so not just from water, but from accidental hits and everything.
Yep, it's got like a light, kind of like
Rubberized.
rubberized silicone covering over it, so that'll keep it safe for you. Acrylic glass.
You can call it glass. It's acrylic or Lexan, whatever you can get. You only want the 1/8 inch thick, really. I mean, the thicker you go, it will travel the light, but this is really all you need.
Yep, so as I was saying here, the vinyl decal, what we would do here is we would take the vinyl decal off, stick it on there after we have it. Actually, do we cut it first? What would you recommend? Probably.
Yeah, you cut it into size that you're going to use. Here's one cut into size for our signs.
Yep, so then we would stick that right to it, and then we can actually use, there's different methods to do it, but we use like a small little sandblaster, like a handheld sandblaster, and then we can like sandblast it and it'll leave leave the decal spot.
Yeah, like etches it a little bit. You can see it on the side. If you don't have a sandblaster, which many of you might not, just sandpaper, a Dremel with a sanding bit, anything to scuff up the area not covered by the decal.
And then, last but not least here, wood glue, because that's what's basically holding this all together. There are other methods you can do as well. I know in this one right here we used, what, brad nails?
We used brad nails and glue.
Yep, so if you guys were trying to make it cheap or didn't have an air compressor or brad nailer, you could easily just use wood glue. It wouldn't be a problem, especially since it's just sitting on your desk. It shouldn't be, like, bumped or hit too much where it might cause a problem.
We just used both because we were impatient, didn't want to wait for the glue to dry, so
yeah.
We can handle it more with the brads put on there.
Yeah, so that's basic. Ooh, forgot one more thing here. The felt here. This is something we added on here after, just like out of trial and error here. You set this down the bottom of your
sign base.
Yeah, your sign base. What kind of like scrape stuff or just slides around. So we got just some craft felt from the store. I mean, you can get this on Amazon too, probably.
Yeah, it's only like a couple, $3.
Yep, so you can get a bunch of this, and then you just cut it to the size, and you can just glue it right to the bottom as he was showing you, and that way it's a nice, soft bottom for the base.
But these signs make any desk look a whole lot better. If you want to do it as a gift for a friend you got who's got an office, he wants to put on his desk, it's an awesome gift. Or for somebody with their computer name on it, a gamer name or something like that.
Yeah, definitely big for games.
Yeah,
I see a lot of people do that, like right by their computer cases. But as you said too earlier here, is the coolest thing is you can just take these right out. So like once your base is made, you can just keep changing these anything you want. If you were changing gamer tags, if you wanted a sign that said open, closed, a name, you just keep changing them right out. So it's definitely worthwhile to make. And it's a fun little project. You do it yourself. Shouldn't cost you too much. I mean, as I said, some of this stuff you might just have laying around, especially if you like to tinker with stuff.
Like the wood, we didn't mention the wood, but if you got some of that laying around, you're good to go. If not, you can get an 8-foot piece, the size you need, for like $6 at Lowe's or your local hardware store.
We got it right off camera right here. We'll show you in a little bit here. But as I said, it's not too expensive, fun to do, so we'll just jump right into it now.
Alright guys, the first step we're going to take is we're going to cut the wood. Our particular design, we use the step pattern. So this acrylic's 8 inches wide, the holder is 9 inches wide, and the base is 10 inches wide. So the first thing we're going to do is do that. Remember, again, your safety gear. And our first step, we're going to measure up the longest piece first, which is our 10-inch piece. So put a couple of lines for that. And while you're at it, also cut the 9-inch ones. Use a straight edge. I got a speed square. You can use anything with a straight edge. Mark those lines. Then we want to measure the width. So as you can see on our particular one, the width of our base is 2.5 inches wide. So we're going to measure that from one end, 2.5 inches. And then our holder is 1.25 inches, so we're going to do that from the other side. Alright, what I'm using to cut my lines is just a cordless 6-inch circular saw. You can use a hand saw. This wood cuts pretty easy. Me, I like power tools, so you're going to use that. You definitely want your safety gear. So you want your particle mask while you're cutting wood, and of course your safety glasses. You want nothing in your eyes. So our first cut, we're going to cut up this way to get those cuts, and then we'll cut it off after. Alright, we're going to do our cuts like I mentioned, then we're going to cut it off here. So here we go. after we cut it our vertical and we cut it off, you still have a few connection points we got to cut where the circular saw can't quite get it because of the round blade. So you can use your circular saw to cut in this way. This is why we kept the scrap piece in between, because you can go further. Then here's your holder piece. That one's out and ready. Only thing you got to do is flip this over. You got just this small piece connecting your hole or your base. So all we got to do is use the jigsaw. That's what I'm using. You can use your handsaw. It works just as good. We're just going to cut that piece off. There we go. We have our base, our holder, and then I'll show you how to cut the acrylic. That'll go in the slot. We're going to cut this later.
So the next step here, we're using Lexan acrylic. This is an 1/8 inch thick, just so you guys know here. We already have a few pieces cut, but for the sake of showing you guys how to properly cut it here, we're going to cut up another piece for you. So we're going to grab the measurements that we need.
Using a marker, the pencil don't write too good on this stuff. We'll just do a 2-inch one just for this. 2-inch. Use your straight edge. Draw the line so you can see it. And for this one, we're just using regular old X-Acto knife. Make sure you got a good sharp blade. You just make a couple passes on it. You don't have to cut all the way through. Just run it along it. Give pretty good pressure. It's almost the same concept as cutting glass, but you can do this with a utility knife as you can with glass. After you do a few past it, you'll see your scribed line. You take it over the edge of something, just break it off. That's your piece cut, nice right on your line. And that's the same thing we did for this Lexan. It cuts the same way. You don't need anything special. Cut your plastic. Remember, all your acrylics and Lexans come with this protective plastic on there. Leave that on to the very end, because you'll get scratches and fingerprints if you don't. So leave that on there. Alright guys, after you got your pieces cut and your acrylic cut, what we want to do is clean up these pieces. Sand them down. Our particular one, we have rounded edges. We prefer that. If you don't, you can leave them square. To round it, what we're going to use is this trim router. Harbor Freight, it's like $20 with that coupon they got. Cheap. Like I said, who needs an excuse to get another tool? You know, go get another one. And we're also going to use a 1/4 inch round over bit, which will give us that rounded edge on our wood. So we're going to do that now, and then we'll sand the rest of it, make sure all these edges are smooth, all the frays from the cutting is off, and it's nice and smooth, ready for your stain, paint, whatever you choose to put on it.
Now that we have it routed and our edges are rounded, as you can see here, now we're going to take a little bit of time and sand it nice and smooth.
Once you get it sanded, you can see it's nice and smooth. We got nice rounded edges. It's ready. This is the time when you're sanding to get rid of any pencil marks, dents that you got from clamps or anything like that. After you got your wood all prepped, sanded, and ready to go, the next stop is to route out or chisel out a channel for your LED lights to sit into, like so. It's going to sit right in the center of this thing, and we only want it as wide as our acrylic. So our acrylic is 8 inches. So when you're measuring, you got a total of 10. Come in an inch from each edge, make a line like that. You got your lines inch in, and then you want to go directly center so you know where to put your bit. So we're 2.5, we want to go 1 1/4 inch on each one, 1 1/4 inch, and you have those lines. Then we're going to draw the straight line on those 1.25" marks. There you go. Then we're going to draw a line on them center points. So right in between here is where we want that channel to be. We're using the router again with a 1/2" straight bit. Again, cheap at home or at Harbor Freight. You can pick them up there. It's good for any other time you want to do it. So what we're going to do is set up our guide. It comes with a guide. We'll set it up so it lines us up with where we need to be here, so our bit will only stay there. So we'll get set up for that and we'll show you that. Alright, now we got our line marked and our edge guide set on our router. We're gonna route out this channel for the light to sit in and a place for the wire to go. Make sure you got your glasses on. Since we have this clamped down, we got to flip this around and get the other half of it. There we go, we got that routed out. If you're not exactly perfect or you got little where it hit and went on the outside, that's okay. Your holder piece is going to go around top and cover kind of your blemishes, so it won't even bother it.
Alright, now that we have this routed, we're going to start to make the hole for the power plug to go into.
So what we're going to do is we're going to measure. We're going to go dead center of this thing. So we know that this whole thing is 10 inches, so at 5 inches, we're going to mark the thing. Here, you want to mark that for me? Hold the tape.
I mean, I'm not left-handed, but I'll take a whack at it.
Just get close. Good enough. And we're going to center it this way. 3/4 of an inch, so 1 inch and a little bit, so right there. That's where we're going to start drilling dead center. We don't want it to pop too far into our groove, so as close as you can get it to the bottom without popping out of the bottom is ideal.
We're just using a clamp for the sake of this. If you want to, you can also use like a bench vise or something to kind of keep it upright and drill right down.
We're using for our plug, we're using a 3/8 inch drill bit. That'll make it this tight. It might not feel like it wants to fit, but you can bang it in or remount your hole a little bit. See, I'm trying to get this as close to the bottom without coming out of the bottom as possible. So make sure you keep your drill level so it doesn't go in at an angle like this. You want it as level as possible. Good idea too, which I didn't do yet, was measure how far down you're drilling. You could put a piece of tape on your drill bit and you'll know where you're at. We're technically where we need to be. We would make it to here, we'll drill down here, and the two holes will meet. This part you're gonna want to go slow because it tends to want to pull itself through once it hits the other hole. So just line yourself up to the
Camera slammage.
hole. See, like that, it tends to want to grab. But that's okay if you happen to poke out the bottom, because it does happen. Your felt's going to cover that hole anyway. And like I said, this is going to fit tight. You can push it in, ream it out a little bit, or sand this down. I've done that so it's more round. You don't want it loose in there, so you'd rather have a smaller hole that you can finagle for this, because you don't want this loose. But that's what you want to do. Yeah, we got to cut them to length, but before we do that, you always want to test your lights to make sure they're working before you go and cut them. So we're going to pop these together just real quick with a power supply. Working great.
Yep, beautiful.
So we're going to get our length by laying them in there. And on these LED light strips, you'll see the spot right between these copper marks, you can cut it every one of those. Every 3 lights, you can cut it to length.
Yep.
So our particular one, we'll set it in here, dry fit it. Remember, our wire is going to swing around here. So since this one's over here, we'll just cut to the next one, and you just cut right in the center of those two. That allows you to solder wires onto the next piece for your next project.
And we're just using a pair of light kitchen scissors for this, nothing fancy.
And then that'll sit in here like this. Our wires will come around, and then once we get our plug in there, these two will solder to that. This will be in there, and then your power supply plugs in it. It'd be nice and tidy. Alright guys, we're in the house now because it's cold out there, plus the soldering iron was in here. What we're going to do, we got our light that we cut. We got our female plug we're going to put into the wood. We reamed out the hole and smoothed this out, sanded a little bit so it fits in better. So let's do that. If you put a little bend up on your wires, it'll kind of pop up through the hole a little better. You can grab it. Do that. We'll just push it in. There you go, see? It's easy to accept the plug. The reason we do that first is because this is going to have to be cut down because it is technically too long. So we'll get our wire placed in, or our lights placed in there, excuse me. Just, it's like dry fitting it this time. Then we're going to check our length of wires, and knowing we could cut it right about here will give us what we need. So we just trim those. If you have wire strippers, definitely what you want to use. I'm just using a pocket knife. You might not want to do this. It's not the safest way to do it.
Please use caution, or just don't do it at all.
Just use wire strippers. I didn't want to walk all the way out to the shop to get them, so I'm doing the lazy way. There we go. We got our wires stripped on both pieces. We got it off of the light and on here. Also, what you want to use, here's heat shrink tubing. You want to put that over each piece because you want to make sure you protect your wires when you're done. Just a short piece. It's only like, you know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch long. Make sure you match your colors up right. Apply these together. Try to spin them onto one another so they'll hold themselves there. That's one thing about LED lights. The wires are so small. Trying to deal with those. Sorry if my hands are in the way.
Yeah, I'm trying to adjust the camera to view it, but...
Okay, we got that one ready to go. Our soldering iron's nice and hot. We have our solder here. We're just going to get some heat going on it. Once the heat gets going on, it should flow into the wire by itself like that. Awesome. That one's done. Now we're going to do the same thing with the negative side of this. Twist your wires. Get them ready. You'll know when it's hot enough because the solder will start flowing. Now that you have them done, let them cool slightly before you put the shrink tube over. Normally I have a little torch I use. It's a mini torch for doing this. Or you can use a heat gun if you want. But since they're so small, the heat gun kind of makes this hard to do. So you can rub your soldering iron over it. It will work. It just takes a little longer. That's what I'm going to use right here. That's all we got in the house. This particular heat shrink I'm using is marine grade, so it's a little thicker than the other ones, so it takes a little longer. But if you're buying the regular stuff, it'll melt a lot faster.
The marine heat shrink tube just has a little bit of glue inside of it, so when it does melt, it kind of like seals the end where the heat shrink tube is. So it's really good for like boating, anything that's trying to keep water out for good.
I just use it for everything. I just try to go with the best I can. There we go, that's good enough. After you got both solder or shrunk tube on there, let it cool a little bit. Then you can route your wires and put all this back in here. This 3M, like I said, it has a 3M adhesive, but since wood is porous, I kind of like to put another kind of glue down, so I put a little super glue down. I got the gel Gorilla super glue. Just rub it down there, or you can just use the regular super glue by Gorilla. This one I believe has the brush in it. Like this kind of brush makes it easier to spread out.
Perfect.
So let's dry fit it again, make sure our wires are going to go where we need them to. A little bit of a challenge sometimes with the thickness of those wires, unless you route out a bigger channel for it. See, like this, you may say, oh, it's not hidden enough, but remember, your one plate's going to go over here, it hides all of this, you won't see any of it. So we know that's going to fit good. We can peel the backing off of this and start gluing it down. Okay, we got the 3M strip off the paper off the back. Like I said, I just use some of this. I'm just going to spread some out. Don't need a lot, just enough to help it stick. I mean, the thing that goes on top will keep it down, but you still don't want to move it around in there. So there we go, just got a little on there. Again, here we are dry fitting this. Well, it's not dry anymore, but just going to stick it in there. Make sure it lays down good. There you go, then you just let it sit and dry. You don't have to worry about gluing these wires down, because once you put your trim piece on top there, it's going to hold everything into place.
So we'll let this dry and head to the next step.
One thing you should do that I didn't do, but is after you solder your wires, check your lights again, make sure things are still working. You don't want to have to peel it out of here once it's in there. But there you go. The next stop, or the next step, excuse me, will be the piece we put on top. We'll cut the slit in that, glue that, and brad nail it down. Then we're ready to go to the acrylic piece. But that's all there is to that.
Alright, back in the shop. We have the light placed in, glued, we got it soldered, and now before we go any further, we're going to test out the light to make sure that all our connections are good. We have everything wired right, perfectly glowing green just like we want it to. So now we can head to the next step, which is cutting the slit in the second piece so we can glue it on here. Alright, so for this step, we're going to use a bench vise to make this a little bit easier. But what we're doing here is we're cutting a line right across in here. So this is 9 inches long, and the acrylic we have is 8. So we're going to come in half inch on the other side, and then make sure it's centered so our glass rests right in there just like that. So a little side note here, if you're using the bench vise, make sure you kind of keep, we have paper towel on the side so it doesn't imprint in the side of the wood. If you do happen to imprint or something, you can always sand it a little bit more, get any like blemishes or stuff out, but just to make it easier here. Okay, so here we got the circular saw. As you see here on the side here, we got the 6-inch blade, so we know that even at full blade width, it wouldn't go past our line, so that's good here. So again, that's only 6, so it's not going to do the full thing, so then we're going to use the jigsaw to just clean it up. We also have the oscillating multi-tool, which you can also use as well. Really depends on what you have at home here or in your shop. So this is another way to do it. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to do it. You also could get like a really small drill bit, go in there, just keep putting holes in there, then clean it out with other tools if you happen to not have a circular saw, jigsaw, anything like that. So let's get going here. Always make sure you got your safety equipment. Okay, so we have the jigsaw now, nice wood cutting bit, so we're just going to clean this up. Alright, so we have the cut that will hold the acrylic in there, if you want to show them. Fits in here nice and tight, not too loose. So as you see here, if he picks it up, you can pick it up by the acrylic and it'll hold both of these, which you want.
Alright, our next step, after we got our slit in there and we test fit our acrylic, we want to center this way on the wood. So we're going to measure a 1/2 inch in from each edge, because remember we got a step thing. This is 10, 9, acrylic's 8. So we'll mark our 1/2 inch mark on each end. 1/2 inch, so we know that's going to be the edge of our wood. It's going to go there on each piece. And as far as going this way, you could measure it, but the best thing to do is look down through your slit and look and center it right so the lights are shining right up through your top piece here, so that way it'll get even light spread on your acrylic. So just mark it after you get it in position. Remember, you're going to clean that off by sanding it later. So alright, next thing we want to do, make sure our surface is nice here. We're going to put a little wood glue on there. I use the waterproof kind. Just a thin layer on there.
There we go.
Huh?
So there we go.
There we go, a little stuck. Just need a thin layer. You don't want too much to squirt out on each side. Whatever does squirt out, you can wipe it off before it dries. Set it into position roughly. And since we don't want to sit here with a clamp and wait for it to dry, we have a brad nailer. See, and that holds it in place. We don't need to use any clamps or anything. These here we're only using, or these are 1-inch brad nails. That way it goes through this piece and in this a little. We don't want it poking out the bottom. Then we'll get a paper towel. We'll just wipe any excess glue off right now. Remember, we're going to be doing a final sand before we put a finish on, so we'll get that residual glue off.
Okay, so right here we want to put our decal right on our acrylic here. So I'll just set it down lightly to make sure it's good. That looks centered right across there. The look. Yep, it looks about centered and position is good. With a finger and a finger piece. So if you have any viewable spot, always take the time to just put some tape on there, because anything that you rub on there scratches wise will show up with your finished product. So it's best to take a little extra time now and make sure everything's taped off. So while I do this, I'll have the other Jimmy there to show you the other ways you can actually sand this. For the sake of this video, we're just going to use a small little piece of sandpaper.
Okay, one of the other ways you can clean out your letters here, you don't necessarily have to go with a decal, vinyl decal. You can use like contact paper. You can cut out whatever you want, a design, a name, whatever you want. We just have a vinyl cutter. It just made it easy for us. Right there. You could use a small abrasive blaster. This ones we were talking about before. They're like $20 at Harbor Freight. It's perfect for this job. Plus you can use it on other jobs. You can also use a Dremel with a small wheel for sanding it down. But like you said, for the sake of this one, just a small little piece of sandpaper. I'm not even sure on the grit on that, but it's really fine. It's like 220 grit. It's just going to scuff up the spot where the vinyl decal isn't. So it's going to make this clear part like frosted almost. And then the light will shine on that.
And the way we're doing this with the decal, you got to be semi-gentle too, because these little pieces of vinyl, if you scrape too hard and you mess that up, you'll mess up the shape of the letter. So just take your time doing it. And I give this a whirl here. This decal is a little bit old, so it likes to peel apart. So
plus from sanding it makes it thinner and a little more brittle, but
yeah, so you'll notice a lot of the vinyl will stick on the in-between parts. But I mean, it's nothing you can't just peel off, it just takes a little bit of time. Alright, so we got all of the vinyl off here. If you're using vinyl, adhesion paper, anything like that, it's going to leave, it's kind of like that sticky residue on here. So there's a few options you can use here. We got just some rubbing alcohol, or we have some, what is this, ooh-off or goo-off?
It's oops. It's just it removes all kinds of, it's an all-purpose sticky remover type stuff. Lipstick, crayons, wax.
So we're just going to take a second here, put some of this on here, and try to get that sticky layer off. Alright, so we kind of switched to the oops, worked a lot better, cleaned it right up. So now we're just going to let you guys know there's a few ways to go about this. If you kind of just like it like this with the sharp edges, you can technically peel off this tape and you're all set. But we kind of wanted to keep the rounded effect here, because obviously you have the nice round edges. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually like trim these down to almost match this one right here, because we kind of like that nice rounded edge. So all you're going to do with that is we have a belt sander. We'll just sand off the edges, make it nice and round, and then when we're all done with that, we can take off the back paper here. You want to do that last so you don't scratch this, get any fingerprints or anything on it. Then you can set it right in there and you're all set. Yeah. Alright, so we got the belt sander right here we're going to be using before we turn it down there because it's quite noisy. This is basically what he's going to do here. He's just going to lift up the acrylic and get that nice round shape. You kind of want to do it nice and even like on both sides to keep the shape. So here we go.
We have nice rounded edges now. Yep. I mean, if you want a more aggressive of a round, just keep sanding. The belt sander makes it pretty quick, but like I said, a block of wood and sandpaper or a palm sander will work too.
Alright, so now that we're sanded here, we're at about our last step here. I mean, minus the finish. As we said, it's a little bit cold out here, so we're going to kind of postpone on the painting, dipping, staining. So we might have that in another video possibly, especially if we take the time to actually hydro dip this. I think it'll be pretty cool. So we're going to take the tape off. Alright, I'm going to set it right in here. Pushes right down there nicely. It's got the good firm stuff. I can lift it up. We'll plug it in here and check out the moment. Truth. Boom.
It's hard to see with the lights. We'll turn off a couple lights. You can see it's really awesome.
Nice glow green. The Jimmy 2 Tech for ours is perfectly seeable. It's absolutely beautiful, guys. Especially once you actually get the base painted, stained, however you want to do it.
Oh, boom! Well, guys, here you have it, the finished product. They look pretty awesome. This is the one we just did. You can see it's an unfinished base. Over here, we got the finished base. We haven't decided what to do with this one yet, but it's up to you. You can hydro dip it. Like I said, check out our video on that. You could paint it, you could stain it, anything you want to do to it, or leave it natural color. It's up to you. Yeah, but turned out pretty quick. It's not like a expensive product to make, but it's actually like looks really nice. It really like complements any desk, any kind of space you have. And as I said, it's really nice to make these because these signs are completely interchangeable. So if you have like a YouTube channel you put on there, you can open, close, a name, it doesn't matter, you can swap them out because once you have the base made, you can make these pretty quick. And with the price of like the acrylic, you could make a handful of different ones really, really cheap, and it doesn't take too much time to actually sand that and get what you need. So overall, it was a good build. Do you have anything to really add with that? Like he mentioned, the price, it isn't bad to make these. We'll get a total and put it down in the description. along with a link to everything to use to make these.
A rough total, because
It'll be rough. It might vary where you're at.
Yeah, some of the tools too that you may or may not have will also vary the price, and maybe what you have laying around the house. Maybe you might have some felt if you do craft stuff, but
right, you might have some of the stuff already laying around, so it'll save you a few bucks. And prices do vary depending where you're at. We're talking about this.
Yeah, let's do that. So to kind of like get you guys, you know, in the building process here, we're actually going to do a small little giveaway for you guys. Hopefully y'all are interested here. Once this video gets 1,000 views, we're going to do a giveaway. So basically how that works is you're just going to make sure you're subscribed to us. That way you can see all these cool videos that we make. You know, love your guys' feedback too, by the way. We definitely appreciate it. You're just going to leave a comment right in the comment section, and then after 1,000 views, we're going to randomly select through there. And then the winner of that is going to get a spool of the LED lights. I'll grab those in a minute to show you guys. We used them earlier in the video, but so you can see here. And we're also going to make you a custom vinyl decal. So if you wanted it to say your YouTube channel, a name, something like that.
Gamer tag or something.
Yep, a gamer tag. We'll make you guys the decal for it because it'll help you out when you actually go to do this. Maybe it saves you a little extra time. Might save you a little bit of money too. So I mean, it's nothing huge, but it might really like spark you to start the project, especially if you're on the fence. It's something you might want to do.
A little bit how we're going to do that. We're going to do like a random drawing from all the comments, so make sure you comment and subscribe. And then we'll do a live Facebook thing of us doing it. We're just going to scroll through real quick and then touch one. We'll give the winner like 3 days to get with us. We'll list the winner on our Facebook page. You get with us, and then we can send you all the stuff.
If the winner doesn't contact us within the 3 days, we'll probably do another Facebook thing and pick another winner until we get somebody that actually goes through to get it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys actually take a shot at trying this. This is definitely a compliment to a desk. So, you know, take a little bit of time. It's a nice do-it-yourself project. Good gift ideas too. As you saw, we had that Christmas one if you want to reach over there and grab it. For holidays and stuff. I mean, we don't have this one plugged in. Probably can't plug it in.
Same color as that one. This was green for Christmas.
Yeah, so you get this one. Good for like holidays and stuff, anything like that. Apologies if it's a little dirty. We've kind of been in the shop.
And again, all the rules for our drawing and stuff, we'll have that down in the description as well. There's not many rules, just, you know, comment, subscribe. If we choose you in the comment section you didn't subscribe, that kind of will disqualify you. We'll just go to the next person, but just click on subscribe. We appreciate that.
Yep, just trying to give you guys a little incentive there, you know, like just subscribe. You see some of these cool projects, I mean, they're not too hard to do. We don't do anything too difficult, and you guys definitely will enjoy it. It's definitely worth it. So thanks for watching the video. You got anything else to add?
No, I think we're good.
Alright, so thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe definitely, especially if you want to enter this little giveaway with us. If you have any comments, throw them right in the comment section. I get back to them pretty quick. Then if you have any more questions that you don't really want to discuss on YouTube or something like that, you can hit us right up on our social media. I answer Facebook messages pretty quick, help you guys out, help you with products, things like that. So thanks for watching.
Have a good one.